All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I just want to make sure, because I did do this before, I'm assuming you can all see my screen. Everyone raise your hands if that's the case, or someone. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Very much appreciate that. All right, so here you can see we're in the hierarchy, and in ClickUp, what's great is you can work on any task or project with anyone. ClickUp is the perfect task management tool and productivity platform. Whether you're a team of 1 or a team of 101, you can use ClickUp for anything. And within ClickUp, the very first place we like to start is the ClickUp workspace. So let's talk about the ClickUp workspace for just a moment. The workspace is going to help you keep track of not only your tasks and your projects, but also your documents, your notes, your timelines, gosh, so much more. The workspace is the top level of the hierarchy, and inside of the workspace, you can create things like spaces, folders, lists, tasks, and subtasks. Now, keep in mind, we recommend that you have a single workspace because each workspace is completely separate. So if you have, let's say, human resources in one workspace and engineering in another, and you want to cross-share tasks, you can't do that. So it's important to keep everything in a single workspace. So let's talk about, first of all, setting up a space. So workspace is the highest level. Next down is going to be space. And here you can see, let me just close this out, the different spaces that I have. So you can see I have everything. I've got my employee onboarding, financials, and so forth. Now think of the spaces as departments in your company. It's probably the most common way that we see organization. If you're a university or a school, maybe you're organizing by departments, right? Now you can have both private spaces and personal spaces. And those private spaces, you can tell because they have a little lock. So the financials are private. Nobody but me can see them unless I choose to share them. So let's talk about how you can create a space. Well, it's actually really easy. We're going to click add new space. Now we add new space. We have so many options available to us. So first, let's start off with a name. We're going to call this the webinar space. I have not stage fright, but type fright. So when I know lots of people are watching, I can't spell. So forgive me. So here you can see I add the name. And once I've added the name, I can go to the next screen and pick my favorite color. So maybe I want for webinars to use this awesome greenish blue color, aqua, should we call that? And maybe I really like watermelon or pizza. I guess it could be either one, right? You can pick the different avatars that you want to use to represent that space. Now, don't worry about getting this perfect, okay? You can change anything you see anytime down the road. Super easy to do. Now, once we have created the space, we can decide if we want this to be a public or a private space. Now, right now, I'm set up to be public, so anyone can see this. But if I go to private, it doesn't mean I'm eliminated. It's only for me. I can share with individuals. So maybe I really want to share this with Mickey Mouse. He's a very close friend of mine, and I know that we're going to be working together. So I can make that shareable with anyone I want here too. Super awesome. Now I'm going to go ahead and keep this workspace public. We'll go ahead and click next. And now we're going to think about statuses. So before you set your statuses, stop and think about, what are we using this space for? If it's for human resources, I may have a different set of statuses than I have for engineering. I created some budgeting statuses. I may have Scrum if you're doing project management, or for you're doing sprints. You may want to use Scrum. For marketing, we have some active statuses here. Concept, in progress, running, those types of things. So if you don't see things that fit here for you, you can create your own. You can create a new template. Now for my workspace, what I want to do is just use the normal. Now, just because I've chosen normal, we know that within ClickUp normal sucks a little bit. We can add to it to make it unique and special. So we can add more statuses, like maybe I want to add a status of, I have in progress, let's say, halfway. So I know I'm at the halfway point. Those people that are looking at my list or my tasks will be able to see exactly where my project is at. So you can customize these statuses for the tasks you're going to be managed The statuses are really the steps that your tasks are going to go through. They can be simple or they can be complex, such as a multi-step process. So think about it before you set these up. And again, you can change them. You're not committed long-term to what you set up in here today. All right, so we've set up our statuses. Let's select our next screen, which is going to take us to the ClickApps. Now, ClickApps are really unique. They're extra customizations that you can choose to use within your space. They are features such as email, so you can email folks from inside of your tasks. Maybe you want to use sprints. Now's a great time to turn those on. Maybe you want to track time or put time estimates. All you have to do is click on those time estimates. And you're not limited to the ones you see here. There are so many more. Now, if you have questions about what do all these ClickApps do, again, I want to point you to the tutorials. And if you come in and you type ClickApp and hit enter, you're going to get an amazing list about ClickUps that you're going to be able to find all kinds of information. So don't forget the tutorials are there to answer your questions, as our help group and your CSM team. So enable the ClickApps that you want. And ClickApps can be turned on for some spaces and not others. So you can customize which ones you want to use in different areas. Now, some of the most common ones, you can see here, time estimates. Definitely priority is very, very popular. Multiple assignees and custom fields. Those can be particularly useful. So once you've turned those on and you've set the views that you'd like for all the new folders, let's come here, give me 1 second. Let's go to, there we go. Now the views are going to be ways that you can navigate the different lists inside of ClickUp. So you'll notice the list view is always required. It is the default view. It is the most common view, and we're going to come back to those in just a minute. Board is also very common, and today we're going to talk about the calendar view. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on as well. So we've set our settings for view. Now you'll notice there are templates. Templates that are already set up you can use. We have some predefined ones. Know that those are available. They're going to be addressed more in the advanced session. So if you want more information, join that. It's on Wednesdays. I also want to point out that if you want to know more about the templates, go to the tutorials. All right, so let's review the way I've set up my workspace. And once I review, yes, I'm going to call it webinar. My avatar looks great. It's shared here. I can see the task statuses. I can always go back and you can make adjustments here. Then we'll create the space. Now, once we created the space, you'll see it in the sidebar. So there's our webinar space. Pretty easy to do. Now, inside each space, you can then create folders. Now, when you create a space, we're automatically going to give you one list. That should also be kind of a light bulb moment for you, that lists are where tasks live. I'm going to talk about folders in just a moment, but lists can be standalone or part of a folder. So yeah, once you've got your space created, go ahead and start creating lists. A list is a group of related tasks. Perhaps you have a project that you're working on with quite a few items that you need to do. A list is a perfect option for that. Now, folders are really just containers for lists, right? So for example, if you want to manage client work within the platform, you may want to have a folder for each client and lists for the different types of work that you do. So let me go ahead and create a list where the list is already here. Let's rename that list. Just going to click edit. And maybe I want this to be, we'll call it beginners. Now, once you have that created, you're like, oh, I want to put it into a folder. No problem. Next to the space, you'll click on the plus sign, and we're going to add a new folder. Maybe we want to call these Summer 2021 webinars. No problem. Folder created. Now, if I want to move a pre-existing list into the folder, all I have to do is drag and drop. Super easy. Now, you'll also notice when I create a folder, again, we automatically give you one list to use. So it's really, really nice. It makes it easy to use. Now, let's pause for a moment on the tactical things, the things that we're going to do every day, and talk about the way things look. So if you're looking for a different layout, you can come into this configuration wheel or configuration cog, and you can decide how you want your layout to appear. We're in the simplified navigation, but if I want to go into the clean navigation, I can do that. I can decide if I want it to be compact, default, or large. And then when I click down, look how different that looks, right? Instead of the lists and the folders and the spaces taking center stage, the space that I'm on is going to take the bulk of the navigation on the left-hand side. So you can change this back anytime. You can, if you like the dark side, you can even turn your sidebar into dark mode and keep the rest of the workspace bright, or you can even switch the entire workspace into dark mode if you want to from your profile avatar. So let me go back to the simple because that's the navigation that I prefer and that I'm familiar with, but know that you have lots of options available to make those changes. All right, we went ahead and we created our first folder. Now we're going to think about those pre-made folder templates. What's a template, right? It's exactly what it sounds like. It's something that can be repeated. So as you're thinking about the way you want to organize ClickUp, think about those things that you're going to use often. So let's create another workspace just for fun. And let's go to create a new folder. And then we can go into the templates. Now, I'm going to use human resources because it's fairly common inside of ClickUp. And actually, forgive me, that would be a space. Let's think about meetings, right? We do meetings often. You may do sprints often. You may do all kinds of things. Maybe it is going to be, let me just clear out of here for a moment. Maybe you do project management regularly. If you select a template, you're able to use that template. You can even add it to your own library that you can go in and you can make edits. So we give you a number of these that are available for you to use and make your own. All right, so once we click on Use Template, you'll notice you have the ability to make changes to it, right? So these templates really are jumping off points. They are meant to be customized, but as you're importing, keep in mind that you can import everything. You can do custom imports. You can even remap the date, which is a good idea to do in the event that you save a template that had dates pre-populated. So don't forget that. I'm going to go ahead and click say, Use Template. And what will happen after a few moments is all of that information that we pre-built in that folder template is going to come over. So you'll notice right here, my folder template is created. There's my project management folder and the 4 different phases of project management, and it's ready to use. Now, the same thing applies to lists, right? So if you come into lists, you can come in and create your own, and we're going to talk about creating tasks in just a moment because lists contain tasks. But if you want to use a template, our template center also offers templates for lists. So here you'll notice I've got simple project management again. There may be simple tasks, Gantt charts, sprints. If you're in education, you may do class assignments, all kinds of choices. So if you don't know where to start and you want to see how other people have done it, you can use these templates. All right. So now that we have our list created, it's time to start creating tasks. Now, to create a task, and I actually did not believe that this was really a thing, but it really is a thing. All you need to do is hit the letter T, and we're going to pop up with the task window so that you can start creating it. Pretty neat trick, right? I didn't believe that that was going to work, and it does every single time. We try to make ClickUp easy, and that's a really good sign that you can use it anywhere you want. Now, if you don't want to hit the letter T, you can add task. You can also add tasks from here. I'm going to use this add task in the lower right-hand corner. And you'll notice the first thing it's going to ask me for is a task name. So we're going to call this, let's plan for our intermediate, which we're going to be doing very soon. So you'll notice it's going to be in a list. And there are a lot of details that you can fill in right here. We can assign it. There are even commands that you can use. So I want to point this out. Here's where you can use either bulleted lists. I'm a huge fan of those. Checklists, dividers. You can even use code blocks if you want to go that advanced. You can decide how this should look. So if this is going to be a quote, You can say make today a great day. And now it's formatted and you go right back into regular formatting. Pretty cool, right? So I've added the information. I don't really want this quote here, so I'm going to remove it. And I'm going to click create task. Pretty easy to do, right? Now, once you've created the task, there are going to be things you probably want to do, right? So let's open up the task. And you'll notice in the upper left-hand corner is the current status. Statuses are the steps to move your tasks through, like we talked about before, like to do or in progress or complete. They're really crucial to communicating the task progress to your team. And to change the status, all you have to do is click on the button. There's my custom status I created, and I'm going to let my team know we're halfway through. Now, what I can do next is I'm going to assign this. I mentioned Mickey Mouse and I are very good friends. I'm going to assign this task to him so that he can see the status of the progress and he can take it over from here. Always add an assignee to the task, even if it's you, so that anyone who's looking at this list knows who's accountable for getting it done. Now, the priority of the task is going to set the level of urgency this task carries. And I just saw the note about Mickey Mouse is very hard to work with. You know, sometimes he can be difficult. We've had pretty good time together, though. I will say that. Thanks, Lou. Okay, so back to setting priorities. We're going to make this one high. Now, these are very important elements as we're going to talk about views here in a few minutes. So be sure that you're going and setting those priorities so that you can not only pass information along, but report on it. All right, now underneath the description, you can add any custom fields you might want to create for the task. And a few other things too, before I leave this top bar, I just want to point out that we can share this task either via web. Maybe you're going to be using guests. You can share tasks very, very easily. And it's super easy to do. Now, I mentioned earlier that we can use our slash commands. Slash commands are going to be available here as well. We use them everywhere. Super easy to do. Now, underneath the description, I mentioned you can do custom fields. Let me come down. And I don't know why I'm not seeing them. I'm going to do it from over here. I'm going to pop out, and you'll notice that I don't want to create a task. Sorry about that. I'm having definitely Monday afternoon brain. All right, let's just go ahead and go into the to-dos. Within the to-dos, you'll notice you can do subtasks, you can do checklists, and there's a really big difference between subtasks or checklists. Subtasks are perfect for adding any kind of smaller action items related to the larger task, and you can add them here. Now, these can be nested. Let's just put schedule from here. And within these, you can, if you have it turned on, you'd have to turn on the nested subtasks. You can create tasks within the tasks. So subtasks are going to be broader things, whereas our checklists are going to be more simple. You'll notice we have templates here as well. And a checklist is really just going to be something that is done or it is not done, okay? So let's say you need to set up the Zoom link, right? That's either done or it's not. You don't need to necessarily assign it out, just need to get it done. Now, you can also add attachments to your tasks. So you'll notice down here, I can click on add, and I have options. I can upload a file, I can create a new document. No need to use those Google Drives anymore, folks. You can do docs right in your tasks. You can use Dropbox, Google Drive, all kinds of options that are available to you. And you can use the comments section, which are over here, so that you can communicate with other people. And that's really interesting because you can do at mentions, so that becomes an assigned. We're going to go back to Mickey Mouse and say, please send link to marketing. So the marketing team can then go in and put it on our website. We want people to sign up, right? So super easy to do. So utilize those comments to at mention people. You can even just put in notes for yourself, right? Use those for however it makes the most sense for you. Super easy to do. Now you'll know that this task has an assigned comment when you come in the upper right hand corner, and this is called the watchers. So these are the individuals that are watching this task. Now, maybe I want Donald Duck to be involved because I want him to keep an eye on it, but it doesn't have any true assignments to it, right? We just want him to be able to see it. So watchers are people that will receive notifications anytime changes occur within a task. Now, make sure you're judicious in this, right? You don't want a cast of 1,000 players here, but you do want it to be a meaningful group. So that's a very easy way for you to have people share the time. Now let's come back up to the top. You'll notice we can track our time here as well. So for those of you out there who might be concerned with billable hours, you can enter a note, starting development, and I can hit the button. And you'll notice in this lower right-hand corner, my time is now tracking. Here's a fun tip. If I leave this task and I go to another window or to another task, this will continue to clock time. And so I'll need to remember to stop that time in order for the time to not continue to clock. All right, we can estimate time. We talked about this. If you're going to be using workload management, you'll want to estimate time on your tasks. You'll notice we can add our due dates. And another cool trick, and this is a little more advanced, if you have Zoom integrated, you can start a meeting in your personal meeting room right from ClickUp. Pretty cool, right? All right, let me make sure I haven't missed anything here. I think that covers it for here. So that is our task. It's fully created. I do want to point out one more thing before we go into views. You'll notice I have the option when I created my space. Y'all remember that I said which statuses I want. When I create a new list, I'm given an option whether or not to adopt what we've already created for the space, or I can create new ones. So you can decide to start from scratch or not. That will happen every time. So, and it's really, really useful if you want to make any specialized adjustments for your list. All right, so let's talk about different types of views within ClickUp. So there are two different types of views. There are task views and there are page views. So we're going to look at the top 3 task views and how to add them to your workspace. Task views are really just different ways of seeing your work. The same information sliced and diced in different ways, organized differently so that you can use them. Now, I mentioned that the list view is the default view and it is required. And it will show lists in a list layout with your data in a clean vertical columns. The list view is here, but if you want like a different version of this list view, you can tweak that, right? So if you come into this view and let's say you want to customize it, maybe you want this to be default for everyone, you can do that. Maybe you want to pin that view. Pinning, I think, is very, very useful because it allows you to come back to it every time. So we can make the adjustments here, but maybe you want to just do a whole new list view and you just want it to be a personal view. You can do that. That's no problem. So then when we add this list view, you have the ability to customize the view with one of 3 ways. You can do grouping, you can do filtering, and you can do sorting. So maybe what I want to do right now, I'm grouped by status. Maybe I want to group by assignee. That's actually one of my favorite ways. Now, right now we only have one task, so it keeps it pretty simple. Let's hop into for just a moment, the employee onboarding, because I have a lot more tasks in here that I'd like to share with you. So I come into the employee onboarding, and when I switch from the view of by status to assignee, look at the difference that makes. So you can see how making multiple copies or multiple versions of the list view can be particularly helpful. Now, I'm just going to come back to status. Let's talk about filtering for just a minute. Maybe we want to filter by priority. So when I filter by priority, and maybe I want to know just what's urgent, I don't have anything that's urgent. That's awesome. Let's go ahead and remove this and add a different filter. Let's add by due date. That's better. And let's say I just want to know everything that is due tomorrow. Done. Let me remove this. I said yesterday, let's do tomorrow. There we go. Here's what's due tomorrow. Now, one thing I want to point out in the lower right-hand corner is that we have to save our views, right? So you'll notice we have auto save and save. You'll want to be sure to save those views. Now, I just realized we have 2 minutes left. I'm going to go through our next two views. I super apologize. I've taken a long time. I love this topic, so you can tell that I have a lot to say. So let's talk for a minute about the board view. Board view arranges the tasks vertically so that you can use this really for agile productivity. You can drag and drop your different tasks. So let's say I want to take this Facebook and say it's in progress. Easy to do. The next view is going to be our calendar view. And let me go ahead and add the calendar view. And the calendar view is really useful because you can see what's happening in the near future. You can sort by month, you can sort by week, you can sort by day. So you can utilize this to plan ahead, to be strategic in the way you're working. This can also be filtered by priority. So keep that in mind. Now, by default, you're going to see all of the tasks, but you can turn on me mode. Me mode appears all over ClickUp and is very, very useful. So you can see just the things that are assigned to you. So it simplifies things just a little bit. Now, the list and board views are the bread and butter of ClickUp, but once you're ready, take a look at the other options. We offer Gantt view for project managers. We have timeline view, map view, lots of other things that can be done. So last thing I want to cover, because we are out of time, but this is a super important topic, is notifications. These notifications are going to be work that you have to do. Now, you'll notice I have two notifications. I can clear them out. And you just click on the little bell. Now, let's say you've accidentally cleared a notification. You can send it back. Super easy to do. So that's done. Yes, here we are. There's my recurring task and it's available. Now, it's best practice to be sure you're checking your notifications 2 or 3 times a day, at least 2, I would say, in the morning and in the afternoon. So be sure to take a look at these notifications and train your team members to do that also. It'll help you keep current on what's coming up and what they need to do. Now, you can set up notifications for email, mobile, or even the desktop app in your settings. So keep in mind, those can be personal to you, and they can be whatever you want them to be. Now, if you're interested in learning more about ClickUp features, don't forget we have other webinar sessions. We have advanced webinar coming up on Wednesday, and in the near future, we'll be doing an intermediate. So join us. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for letting me go a minute over. It's a ton of information. If you have questions, reach out to us, help@clickup.com, reach out to your CSM, and thank you all so much for joining. Now, if anyone has questions, I'm happy to stay for a couple minutes. Otherwise, feel free to have a great evening. All right, just checking the Q&A. Any other questions? Everyone good? Raise a hands.
Looks like we have a couple in the Q&A tab, Jen.
Here we go. They just came in. Okay, go ahead. Let me take Chris Ann's first, and then Deanna, can you type your questions? 3 ways tasks can be notified. Tasks are going to be notified. You'll get them in notifications. Now, if you set up your settings, and Sophia, keep me honest if I'm mistaken on any of these. Now, when I get notified, I'll see it in ClickUp, but I'm also going to go get an email if I allow that within my notifications. Sophia, I'm not aware of a third one. And if I said that, I apologize. Am I missing one, Sophia?
So the in-app notifications, as well as email, mobile, and desktop apps would be the best ways to get notified.
Perfect. I totally forgot about in-app. Thanks so much for that. Deanna, what was your question? Oh, here we go. I help keep track of projects for other people in our org. Do I need to assign each task to the person responsible and also assign myself? So if you can, if you want to be a watcher, right? You do need to assign it to those other individuals, because if the person responsible isn't assigned to the task, they won't know. So you'll want to be sure to do that. And I do think if you want to assign it to yourself, you could. And we do have a Teams feature that if you want to create teams, you can assign work to teams as well. Does that answer your question, Deanna? Is there a way to see the task due dates in my home without assigning it to me? No, there is really not that I can think of. Unless you're the space owner. Sophia, am I wrong about that?
No, you're not wrong. Home will only show things that are assigned to you.
Yep. Thanks for the gut check. You're very welcome. Any other questions? All right. Well, then with that, we will call it an evening. Thank you all so much for joining. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much for choosing ClickUp, and have a great night.